Today I am proud to introduce to you my very first legit Linux shell script. So this is cfautouam. It is a Cloudflare Under Attack Mode automation bash script. It will detect your CPU load, and if it is high, it will enable Cloudflare Under Attack Mode using the Cloudflare API, and then once it's normalized, returned normal, then it will disable it all automatically in the background. Very easy to set up, very easy to use. It is released as of today and beta 0.9. We need to add in a little bit more error checking, and then version 1.0 will release shortly. You can get it from our Guided Hacking GitHub page, and all the documentation is right here. It does have several different command line arguments. You can install it, uninstall it, disable it, enable it, and then you can also manually enable and disable under attack mode using that script as well. I'm going to go over the script briefly with you, and then I'm going to show you how to code it yourself. Keep in mind, after this video is released, there will probably be many updates to this script, so you'll want to check the GitHub after following the video. Here is what the log file looks like. You'll notice in the beginning, everything's normal, nothing's happening, no changes are necessary. CPU load is at 0%, 2%, 9%. Once it's gone over our 10% limit that we set, it's now going to automatically enable under attack mode for you. And then as this script is running, it's detecting the CPU is still over threshold, so we're not going to disable under attack mode. We also have a time limit before we re-enable regular mode, because we don't want to take down our protection just for them to DDoS again 10 seconds later. So we have a 10-minute limit on that. After that time limit has passed, the CPU load has been detected below threshold, time limit has passed, and then UAM is disabled again, and then we go back just into our waiting mode. And then the threshold was met again, we re-enable, we're waiting, and then we disable. And so that's what the log looks like over time. So now I'm going to show you how to install it. So my parent path we're going to go to is cd/home. That's the default path we're going to use. We're going to grab this wget, paste that. It's going to download it, and then we have our second set of commands here. Paste those in. It's going to make a subfolder. It's going to copy the script into that folder. We're going to go into that folder. We're going to give it execute permissions, and then we're going to call install. Except we have a problem here. We did not change the settings yet. So we need to go in here. We're going to keep debug mode on 1. We're going to keep the path as /home. The upper CPU limit is 10 is fine. 5. Our default is high, and we're going to use the high string, so everything's fine there. So at this point, I'm going to put in my email, my API key, and my zone. I've just updated my API keys, etc. And now what we're going to do is let's check our log. A log says nothing's going on here. It's all below CPU load, which is fine. We're going to go into another prompt here, and we're going to do stress --CPU2 timeout 20. So that's going to give us 20 seconds of load, and it's going to, I have 4 CPUs, so when I stress 2 CPUs, that gives us 50% load approximately. So now we should be able to do cat cfautouam.log, and we should see some changes. So the load went up to 11%, and it enabled UAM. Perfect, that's exactly what we want. If we go over to Cloudflare and refresh, we should now see that under attack mode is now enabled, so it's working perfectly. It's now gone back to 0% load. So once our script has detected that, it should disable itself. And there you go. So our time limit is set to 10 minutes, but because we have debug mode, it's setting this, I think it's a 30-second timer. And then we've gone below threshold, and now it's disabled again. We can refresh Cloudflare, and it's disabled. So there you go. Works beautifully. And now that we're here at main, I think it's time just to jump in and start coding this. Make sure you've got your shebang /bin/bash up top, and then we can get right into it. This is just going to be our security level enumerators for Cloudflare. So we're going to do SL_off equals 0, SL_essentially off equals 1. And then SL_, these are the string equivalents of those settings. So SL_off, S equals, and we're actually going to copy these. These are all going to be the same, right? We're just going to put an _S on each one of these to denote it as a string. And then we're just going to change these off. That's exactly how you're going to get them from Cloudflare when you do your requests. Then we have our little configuration section here. Debug mode equals 1. Install parent path equals /home. cf_email equals, and you'll fill this out later, API key. We have cf zone ID. Upper CPU limit equals 10. Lower CPU limit. That's so we can reset it back to normal. Actually, that's not in use in the current script, but I'm planning to add that in later. Regular status is going to equal the $SL_high. So that's setting it to that SL high variable. We're going to do the same thing with a variable for the string itself, $SL high_s. So when you're defining a variable the first time, you don't need the $ to denote it as a variable type. It just knows that. But then when you're using it on the right-hand side, you need to use the $ to denote it as a variable. We're going to time_limit before_revert equals $, and we're going to put this inside of parentheses, 60 times 10. And those parentheses, that means you're doing arithmetic. So double parentheses is we're doing arithmetic inside of it, and then whatever the result is, we're basically assigning it into like a variable, and then we're setting this variable to the variable that was the result of the arithmetic equation. So that is our timer. You can change this 10 for any number of minutes. You can set it to 3 or 5, whatever you want to do. So then we have our functions section. First one is going to be install, and to define a function in bash, it's just like that. And we do, we're going to make dir, and we are going to use the string install parent path and /cfautouam. So that's basically just going to append those two strings together. And then we are going to do cat, and we're going to pipe the IO in that direction, and we are going to cat this install parent path cfautouam dot service, and then we're going to go in the other direction, EOF for end of file. So now anything that comes after this needs to go on the left. It can't be indented, and so everything between this and this EOF is going to be put directly into that file, basically verbatim. And so this is going to be our service, and then after this, we're going to set up a timer. So this is going to be a unit description equals enable Cloudflare under attack mode under high load, and then service is going to be exec start equals, and then we're going to use this variable again, install parent path /cfautouam/cfautouam.sh, and that will expand. It'll still expand these variables even despite we're doing this this end of file thing here. And then we're going to do another one. This is going to be our timer. So cat install parent path quotation /cfautouam/cfautouam.timer, and then we're going to go end of file again, EOF, and then in here it's going to be unit. We're actually going to copy the same unit, same thing, and then underneath we're going to do timer on boot second equals 60, on unit active sec equals 7. So on boot, basically it won't start this timer until 60 minutes after booting, 60 seconds after booting, and then on unit active, it's going to execute this. That service is going to execute every 7 seconds. Then we're going to do accuracy sec equals 1, and then install wanted by equals timers.target, and that should be it. Looks good. End of file, good. After we create those two files and put in the correct stuff, we're going to chmod +x install parent path, and we're going to do /cfautouam/cfautouam.service. That's going to give it executable permissions, and then we're going to do systemctl enabled. That's like the system control module, and it's going to be install parent path. Oops, $ there. and then quotation slash cf auto uam slash cf auto uam dot timer. And then systemctl, we also need to enable the service. Enable $install parent path, cf auto uam slash cf auto uam dot service. And then we're going to start it. Systemctl start cf auto uam dot timer, and then we can actually exit. And exit will exit the entire script. So if all we're going to do is call the install command line argument, we're going to install it and then exit, and we're done. Next thing is uninstall. We're going to do a systemctl stop cf auto uam dot timer. We're also going to stop the service. And these two are going to be disable. rm-r, and then we're going to remove this entire folder recursively. Install parent path slash cf auto uam, and then we're going to exit. So if you run uninstall, everything's going to go bye-bye as soon as it's done executing. Now we need some commands that are going to do, we're going to enable and disable under attack mode right from Cloudflare. So that's going to look like, we're going to do a curl, and it's going to be an X, and it's going to be a patch, and it's going to be, I'm just going to paste this in here actually. So basically, we are going to send a request. This is the API URL for security level. We're going to expand our zone ID string, and we're going to give it our email and API key, and the data we're going to give in is going to be JSON, and it's going to be our regular status. So we're disabling under attack mode, and we're going to expand that string. You'll kind of see what that looks like later once we run the script. And then we're going to just we're just going to log, and we're going to do date plus %s out to install parent path slash cf auto uam slash uam disabled time. I'm not using that either, but I think I'm going to plan to use it in the future. I couldn't figure out a good way to get persistent data to register, so I was just using file to log a couple of things, a couple timers basically. And then the last thing is going to be echo $ date dash cf auto uam dash cpu load. This is just our output to our log. $ current load dash disabled uam dash dash $ install parent path cf auto uam slash cf auto uam dot log, and that's the end of our disable. Our enable is basically going to be the same thing, so we're just going to copy it, we're going to paste it, and instead of regular status here, we are going to do, I know what this is, $SL underscore under underscore attack underscore s. And putting it with dev null here, it's basically saying don't, when you run this script, is we don't want any of this to appear in the terminal. That's what that's saying. And then we're going to echo out enabled this time. And we're going to change this to not from disabled. We're going to do enable time, UAM enable time. Now we need a function to get the current load, get current underscore load. And this was, I actually figured this out. It's kind of cool. We need to get the number of cores. So number of cores equals $grep -c model name and /proc /cpu info. And we need to surround this with parentheses, and then the $ gets used. So this will execute inside the parentheses, and whatever its result is will basically, I don't know how to describe it, but it like becomes a variable, and then you can assign it to num cores once you've captured that variable result of that execution. Then next we're going to do current load equals $ parentheses uptime pipe awk -f average semicolon, and then single quote, and inside here we're going to do print $2, and then we're going to pipe again awk print $1, and then we're going to pipe again sed s slash comma slash space slash small quote, like that. And then we're going to do current load equals $ parentheses BC, and then 3 arrows, and then in quotation scale equals 2 semicolon $ current load divided by num cores times 100, end that quote, and then it's wrapped in parentheses. Good. We're missing a single quote right here, so let's add that in. And then we need to do current load equals $, and we're going to do curly braces, current load percent dot star, and that's the end of that. And then we're going to return $ current load. We need to add in an extra R here. So how does this work exactly? Let's open up our little terminal here, and let's go over to bash. So if we do cat /proc/CPU info, we get all this information about our CPU, and all we care about is the model name, right? So if we do a grep model name, then we get a line for each core that we have. So grep-c gives you a count. So when we execute just this, we should get 8. Yes, because that's how many virtual cores I have. And then the next line is uptime. If we do uptime, that gives us the time that we've been up, how many users, the load average. This is the load average over a minute, over, I think this is 5 minutes, and I think this is over 15 or 30 minutes or something like that. But anyways, we want the load average for 1. So we're calling uptime, and then they're piping it into awk, right? And then we're basically getting to the position where it's average semicolon, and then we are getting the resulting value of that with the awk and sed combination of 0.52. And so we want to turn that into a percentage. If we had a single core processor and our load was 1.00, that would mean 100% load. If our load was 0.5 on a single core, that would mean we're under 50% load. But when you have multiple cores, then that number doesn't add up correctly. So the equation to do that is you get the number of the current load divided by the number of cores, and then you multiply it by 100, and that will give you the percentage. And BC lets you work with floating point numbers, and so the scale is decimal point 2, right? And then so when this all finishes, it will give you a number like 10%, 20%, 30%, not a 0.5 or whatever. I thought that was pretty cool. So next we need to get the current security level. So let's paste that in, and we're going to do a get security level. And this is not going to be a patch. It's going to be a get request. It's going to be for the same API. This is going to be the same. This is the same. But then down here, we're getting data, not sending it. We can actually erase this data part. And at the end of this, we are going to do 2 right angle /dev/null, because this does have like a standard output, and we just want to throw that away. We don't care about it, but we do want to pipe it. So here we're going to put a pipe, and on the next line, we're going to do awk-f, and we're going to do quote, semicolon, quote, and then some little quotes, which are going to be print $4, and we need to wrap these, of course, in curly braces. And then we're going to pipe that, kind of like what we did before, awk-f, and it's going to be just a comma, and then we're going to do same thing we did here, but it's going to be print 1. And then we're going to pipe again into tr-d, small quote, double quote, small quote, and then we are going to output that into install parent path /cf autouam/cf status. And then what are we going to do? Set the security level. Security level equals $, cat install parent path /cf autouam/cf status. So that's just going to get the variable that we just saved to that file. Then we need to know, okay, so we have basically a string, and now we need to get an integer, because functions in bash scripts can't return strings, they can only return numbers. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to do case $ a security level. This is basically a switch statement. Then you do, no, we just do in. And then here is the actual cases. So we're going to do off like that and return $SL_off. And then we're going to do 2 of those to end that. And then we're going to do essentially off. We can make this easy on ourselves too. We can just go up here and grab these, go back down here and just use these as a reference. And we're just going to switch these cases. We're going to paste them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's 6 of them. And so it's going to be SL essentially off, and then SL low. So essentially off, and then low, and then we just need to get rid of those S's because we don't want the string value, we want the integer. And now we just fix this formatting. And at the end of our switch statement, what do we need to do? We need to do, a default. So the default is like a catch-all, so it's going to be just a star. And then we're going to return 100, and that's going to be like an error. So we can use that for error checking later. And then we do sac at the end for, it's just case backwards. So that ends the switch case. And at the end of this, we don't need to log anything here. We got what we needed. We logged it to the file. We read it into the variable, and then we returned it. Yeah, these are our returns here. So now we can delete this little block here. That all looks fine now. And then we're going to have our main function, which is where all the action happens. So let's open this guy. First thing we need to do is we need to call some functions. So we're going to do get security level. And how do we get the return argument from that? We set it like this. So current security level is going to be our variable that takes our return, and the return from the previous function is done with $?. Then we're going to do get current_load, call that function, and we'll get its return value and set it into current load. So current load equals $? again. And then we have an if statement. So when you do if statements, you use brackets. So this shell's weird. I didn't really know this, but there's like multiple different types of shells, right? So the way we're doing bin bash up here is we're using bash. So we have access to an extended shell, right? If you're just doing a regular shell, you're limited. But anyways, for just a simple if statement, we can just use simple brackets, just one bracket on either side, and we do $debug mode equals 1. And then we do a semicolon, and then a and then a $. So we have some options here. So this is for debug. So if debug mode is set 1, we're going to set these variables to some specific things so that we can, so it's easier to debug. That's all. So time limit before revert equals 30. And then when this is over, you can actually disable this. And you'll see that later when we test it. So these are just debug variables. At the end of an if statement, you end it with phi, the opposite of if, right? Then after this, we're going to do if, but this time we're going to do double brackets, okay? And in between these double brackets, we're going to do dollar current security level equals quotation SL under attack, semicolon. Then we're going to do UAM enabled time equals $ parentheses left output UAM enabled, should say input, UAM enabled time. So this is the file that has the time when last time we enabled under attack mode. So we're going to take that and we're going to pipe it into this variable and then assign it to this. That's basically what that's saying. And then we're going to do current time equals $ date plus %s. That's going to get our current date and time formatted in the way that we want it. It's going to be formatted in like Unix timestamp, where it's just the number of seconds that have passed since the last epoch, right? And then we're going to get the difference. So time different, and we're going to use double parentheses because we're going to be doing arithmetic. We're going to put $ outside of it so we can get basically a variable, and then we're going to do current time minus UAM enabled _ time. and we don't need spaces here. Basically what this is, let's put some comments here. We're going to get current protection level and load, and then we are going to if UAM was recently enabled, just a nested if statement here. If it was recently enabled, we want our second check is going to be if time limit has passed, and we're going to do if double brackets, and we're going to do time diff dash GT, which means greater than time limit before revert, semicolon, then if time limit has passed and CPU limit has normalized, that's what the next if statement's going to mean. If double brackets again, cur underscore load dash LT $ upper CPU limit, semicolon, then. And then under here, we're going to have another if statement. So if single quote, single brackets now, debug mode equals 1. So when you're just doing a simple number comparison, you just need single brackets. If you wanted to use this GT and a variable on either side, then you need the double brackets, okay? And so if debug mode equals 1, then we are going to do some debug logging. It's just a more verbose log so you can make sure everything's working. So dollar the date, and then just some output here. cfautouam CPU load, current load, CPU below threshold, time limit has passed. And we're going to output that string to install parent path cf auto uam / cf auto uam.log. That looks good. Yep. Oh, we have to end this debug statement, but we do want to disable it. So disable UAM. Else, and then another if statement. We're just going to detect debug mode again. So this is going to be $debug mode equals 1. Then we're going to echo basically the same thing, but CPU is going to be above threshold in this clause, and we're going to do nothing in this situation. Then under here, we just do a phi to end this if statement, and then we're going to end the previous nested loop there. But I think we still have one more section of if statements here. Yeah. We just need one more phi down here at the bottom. So this one goes over one. There we go. And then the last thing is we're going to exit here. Just nested loop to check the 3 different conditions, basically. Under limit, above limit, and that UAM has been set. This whole section needs to be indented 1. I knew our else is in the wrong spot. We need to go right after this. Phi, and then we need to do an else if, and then a phi, and then a phi. There we go. Right here, if statement, single brackets, debug mode equals 1. Then we're basically going to do some similar output, but this is going to be UAM already set, waiting out time limit, phi, exit, phi. And I'm just going to save my document here. There are 2 really good extensions, by the way, for shell scripting. Yeah, shell format and shell check. These are freaking awesome. So we can go up here to our command palette and we can click format document, and that's going to format for us. It can't do it right now because phi can only be used to end an if. So we're missing an if or a phi here. Something's screwed up. Yeah, I just reopened it and it's fine. So that script got messed up. Let's get back into it. So this was all fine. All of our code was fine. There was no problems. And now we're going to do some more if statements. So all that code above this was for if UAM is already enabled. This is going to be the part where we enable UAM based on load. And so this is going to be an if statement, which is going to be if load is higher than limit. If double brackets. And inside here, we're going to do current load is /GT greater than $upper CPU limit, and current security level equals and we want to do this as a string, a $ regular status, and again, semicolon, then we're going to enable UAM, and we've got to tab that baby over, and then else if load is lower than limit. That's what this is going to be. So this is going to be an else if statement. So if double brackets again, and this is going to be kind of like the same thing. We're actually just going to paste that in, but it's going to be current load is less than LT, and current is not equals SL underscore under attack, semicolon then, and then we're going to disable UAM. And then our last thing is an else, and if it's going to be a debug clause, so if debug mode equals 1, then semicolon then, we are going to echo $ quote parentheses date, and then we're going to do a cf auto UAM CPU load current load dash no change necessary, and that string, and then we're going to output this to install parent path and /cf auto UAM /cf auto UAM dot log, and then we can do a phi to end that, and we can do another phi, and then that is the end of our main function, I believe. We need to add a space right here. Proper syntax. Parsing stopped here. Is this keyword correctly matched up? We can get rid of that because that's the end of our main right there. Our main function. So that is the end of our functions. And now we just want to do command line arguments down here. So we're going to do if. This is how you get the arguments. In quotations, we're going to do $1, and so that's going to use it like it's a string, and that's just the first argument, equals dash install. Then we're going to install exit, and then we're going to else if, not elif. I'm basically just going to copy this just to save time, and this is going to be uninstall and exit. And then we're going to have a couple of these else ifs. And so we have install, uninstall, and then this last one is just going to check, the second last one is going to check -z $1, basically checking if this is 0, basically. And then the last one is going to be just a regular else, and then it's going to be phi at the end. Install is just going to call the install function and exit. Uninstall is going to call uninstall and exit. Else if is going to be disabling the script. So in here, we are going to do system ctl disable cf auto uam.timer, system ctl disable cf auto uam.service, and then echo $ date. Again, just logging some output. Cf auto uam dash script manually disabled, and output that to install parent path /cf auto uam /cf auto uam dot log, and then we're going to do disable UAM. We're going to call that function, and then we're going to remove some files, because if we don't, it's going to mess up some of our if statements after the fact. So we're going to do rm install parent path /cf auto uam /uam disable time, and same thing on the second line except the enabled version. So enabled UAM enabled time, and then we're going to do system ctl. No, then we're just going to exit. On the next, we're going to do something similar. So let's copy this. This was disable script. This is going to be enabled script, and we're going to just change these to enable, right? And we're going to change this to enabled, and we're going to call enable UAM instead. We do need to get to the correct path on these. So this is going to be install parent path, yes, and put the string in slash cfautouam slash cfautouam timer, and then we're just gonna let's just copy that same one, drop that in, and just change this to service. And we don't need to call enable UAM because we don't want to start the under attack mode. We're just enabling or disabling the script. The script can later decide what it wants to do from that point forward. And then enable UAM, we're just gonna do another. I should make a log function, huh? I keep typing the same crap over and over again. So we had script manually enabled. Now we want UAM manually enabled. And so here is where we are going to call enable UAM. We need another one which is going to disable UAM. That over. And this is going to be, yeah, disable UAM. And we're just going to change this to disabled and call disable. And exit. And then else if there are no command line arguments, we're just going to call the main function, okay? We're going to do just an else. So regardless of, if it's none of those things, this is going to be the catch-all, and we're just going to echo cfautouam dash invalid argument. And boom, that should be it. Let's see what this says. Couldn't parse this test expression. Check these errors because we need a space there. That's funny. We did a colon instead of a semicolon. We actually need to change all of these. Whoops. And we need a space here, space here, space here, space here, space here. Now we should be good. Yeah, so these are just warnings. These aren't really errors. We've got our whole script written. That's the tutorial. That's the script. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to contribute to the script, send a pull request. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, guidedhacking.com/donate, patreon.com/guidedhacking. Please support us so that we can continue to make videos, and peace out.